I just wanted to make a video because I've been in Paris for about a little bit over a week, and this trip has been something that I really have been dreaming about for a very long time. And I took French for over 7-8 years. I just got my citizenship last year, and I have a lot of family that immigrated to Western Europe in the last 20 plus years, and I haven't had a chance to see them, one because of my citizenship status, and two because of financial responsibilities that I just could not prioritize this trip. And lastly, I just was scared, honestly. Europe has never been a place that I thought I could do. I've been to the Middle East, I've been to Asia, I've been to Africa. I have never been to Europe. I had a pit stop in Europe, but I've never done a Europe trip. And so when my citizenship came through last year, for the first time I thought about, what do I want to do? What's the first big trip I want to do? I've been traveling probably since I was 18. Probably the most impulsive travelers out there. In February, or maybe it was March, no, it was in February for sure, there was this jazz festival that was announced, and one of my favorite Ethiopian jazz artists was going to be part of the lineup. And the tickets I remember were either 30 or 40, nothing more than $45. I mean 45 euros. And I remember just being I don't think I'm gonna do a trip this summer because I have a lot of responsibilities, but I'm just gonna get a ticket just in case to buy myself, because there was a refund process and it has, so it's just get the trip protection, I mean the ticket, the concert protection, and then also it was a 3-day festival. I just got the 1 day. It was in Vienne, France, which is maybe 30 minutes away from Lyon, which is in the south. All of a sudden the things started turning. I planned a trip. I planned my trip in March, kind of slowly started getting into in April. I got my ticket, I got a really good deal, and I was why don't I make this whole trip this whole trip thing. My aunt lives in Italy. She's lived in Italy for the last 30 plus years, specifically in Rome. I have a cousin who's the same age as me living in Rome. She moved for school in England, but then she came back. My aunt who used to live in Italy, actually my other aunt who used to live in Italy, she moved to the UK. They live in London with her 2 daughters who I've never met. My uncle, who is on a refugee status for the last many years, I haven't seen him probably since I was 10, used to live in Brussels, but now lives in Antwerp, Belgium. And so I was why don't I make this a summer of seeing my family and reconnecting, and just really make it my European trip. I felt a lot of toxic shame and guilt because I think I am the oldest daughter in my family, and so I've always felt I don't know, things should have a reason. So I was trying to come up with all these justifications, and I was trying to reflect back. I have a really good people around me, thankfully, so they were just not everything you do has to have a functionality, especially with the type of responsible or hopefully some ethical type of traveling that I'm hoping to do. I'll be staying with family for the most part, except in France, and I will get to do what I've wanted to do for a very long time. So the toxic shame came rushing in, and I had a couple of bad nightmares that I was just things were gonna fall apart. And my dad is actually back in Minneapolis, which is where my sister and I live. So he's taking care of our cat, and kind of taking care of the house. He just happens to be in the US for a health checkup, so it worked out really well. And then my sister works as a flight attendant, and so she's oh, I get basically free flights, so I can come with you for a week, or possibly a couple of days. But then ended up for a week. Everything started falling into place. I had this job that I wanted to kind of like solidify, and that worked out. And they were like, yeah, you can work remotely as long as like you do your work and we are able to meet. I'm gonna have very interesting time zone magic meetings in the middle of the night, but that's okay. One of them is happening tonight. That's why I am in this place. And so I did my research. It ended up being a very easy process. I am a researcher, like deeply, and I didn't want to do over researching, but I knew that I wanted to stay in a place where it wasn't like a lot of tourists, not because of any like weird separating myself from tourists, but generally places that have tourists tend to have a lot of, it's like expensive. This is my first like 8-9 days are in Paris. I was like, I need to find a place that is not super expensive. But I think what I'm realizing is that like the toxic shame and the guilt doesn't really go away. The world is not like, I work as a project manager, community connection person, community organizer within my community, and so traveling at a time when things feel so dire and so immediate just does bring up a lot of feelings that I don't like. So in spirit of holding that grief and holding that up, I was like, let me just make a video, because it kind of felt like important to put a testimony, and I'm not even sure if I'm going to post it publicly or privately, but I just thought I would reflect all my thoughts. I've been journaling, I've been digital journaling, physical journaling. Let me actually probably on a bunch of books right now. So I've been journaling like crazy, and so and then I also have a digital journal that I do, and so like I am tracking my thoughts and all of that, but I needed like another layer of reinforcement for myself, almost, to really think about why I'm here. And part of it is like just I've always been a fixer and like a very solution oriented person, so I'm like, I need to find a solution or like an answer. It's able to be wrapped very beautifully in words, but I can't find it. And what I'm realizing is just for the first time in my life, probably, I am traveling because I need to do this and it feels important. I'm like 29, I'm going to be turning 30, and I'm very excited to be 30, to be honest. It's just like there's a certain regret I think that could have come up if I didn't do this trip. And I am very proud of myself, but also simultaneously and concurrently, there's this thing in my body and my brain that's like gnawing, like there is so much grief, sadness, violence that's happening in the world as I'm experiencing this moment, this like time in my life. And that doesn't, like, those are not mutually exclusive, and it kind of just gave me a perspective on like, I'm not gonna have an answer, I'm not gonna have like an easeful like, oh, it's gonna be okay, you're doing this for you or whatever. It just has to be what it is. And that feels really hard for my personality type. If you know me in real life, you know that's not a very satisfying answer, but I am very excited. I just have one carry-on luggage that I came with, and that is sort of my whole my whole arc, I guess. I'm gonna be here probably until beginning of August, because I do have a work retreat in like the middle of August, so I have to get back. But I am excited to see my aunts, my uncle, my cousins. It's just gonna be, I know, a very wonderful and eye-opening experience, and I'm excited for it all. My sister will be leaving me in 2 days to go back because she has a job that doesn't allow her to travel for long term. It's a miracle that I'm able to do this, and I'm very grateful. But I'm wondering if you guys are interested in, whoever is watching this, if anybody's watching this, like I said, if I end up posting this online, if you're interested in like any sort of reflections, like moments of clarity, or just any part, like sharing any part of my journey in my travel. I am like a Black multi-layered identity person, and so I'm sure that like feels different to like watching this. So what I'm saying is like I might have a very different perspective on like traveling on Europe and this like romanticized idea that everybody wants to do at some point. So let me know if you're interested in more videos, and what type of videos would be helpful to you in kind of engaging with travel in a very over tourist, or in a world that's full of like over tourism and over travel, and the aestheticization and over consumption of travel has like just created this weird cognitive dissonance for a lot of us who had travel at some point and then stopped, especially after COVID, because of just a lot of disability justice stuff and like also just fear. And so if you're interested in any of that, or if you're interested in any particular stories or histories or clarity, I will think about making it if it's something that fits within what I am pulled to do. My name is Jordanos, by the way. I make videos here, usually just like little snippets, but this is probably my longest one I've made. And YouTube is a great space for some things, and this is a type of ramblings is I think one of them. By the way, I got this book from Shakespeare & Co. Wow, great. It's called Loveless. Oh, it's called Loveless by Alice Oseman, who wrote Heartstoppers. So far so good. I really like it, and her writing I feel like pretty accessible, and I think a lot of people say a lot of stuff about her writing, but I actually really quite appreciate it so far. And that's my reading right now. And then I'm also reading Master of Jinn, which my cousin recommended. Wow, I'm like sinking. Anyways, I'll talk to you later, and let me know what you all want to see. If you're interested in seeing anything from me, I'll probably be in Lyon in a couple of days. I'll leave Paris soon. But yeah, wow, this is great angling. Beautiful.